Hey everybody, welcome back to Kirsten's Cove. So today's video is going to be all about Shadowhunters. I know that Shadowhunters can be a bit controversial, I guess. Like, the opinions are very polar opposite about it. I personally absolutely love it. It was the series of books that got me back into reading after a very long slump. Slump was from getting my degree and having to read things for school, didn't want to read things for fun. I started reading Shadowhunters, and I started it late. It was like 2021, I think, is when I started reading it. So it wasn't my childhood, but it was what got me back into reading, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So I'm going to walk you through how I read the books. On my website, I have a Shadowhunters blog where there's a couple photos of different ways to be able to read it, because there's so many books. So don't get intimidated. It's okay. There are a lot of books, but honestly, they're worth it. And you can read as much or as little as you want, which is the benefit. Like, you don't have to read everything to understand. But I'm going to walk you through how I went through it, and then maybe at the end I'll talk a little bit about other ways that you can read the books. So I started with Mortal Instruments. So here's how we do. Okay, so this is the first three. These were the first three to come out as well. So if you're also going to read in publication order, I believe you start with these three. There's 6 books in the Mortal Instruments series. So this follows Clary, Jace, Izzy, Alec, Magnus, Simon, kind of like the main ones that we all know and love. I personally liked reading Mortal Instruments first just because we see things about these characters in other books, even the ones that are beforehand. Like, we kind of get like some background, and like they talk about like their history and things like that. So I definitely recommend reading Mortal Instruments first. The reason why people don't is because while we have these 3, Mortal Instruments is the only series in the Shadowhunter world to have 6 books. These are the last 3, so yeah, maybe I can try to hold these up so you can see the full photo. So we have, I'm not going to be able to hold these up. That's not going to happen. There we go. That's the closest you're going to get. So you have the 6 books, which is really intimidating. I will give anyone and everyone that. It is very intimidating with the 6 books and the last one being so long. But you can kind of split this up. And so this is where, if you're like reading a publication order, you read the first 3, and then the second 3 you can tandem with Infernal Devices, which I'll show in a second, which is the prequel series. I read all 6 in one. Honestly, I liked it better, because then when I went back and read Infernal Devices, I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. I got to experience it that way, and I kind of liked that. Also, I'm not a tandem reader. I can't. It boggles my brain a little too much. So I suggest reading the first 6. So this is the series that the TV show is about. And honestly, I think they did pretty well. For the first season and the second season, yeah, some things are out of order, but they relatively capture most of the points. They're missing some things, but like, I mean, every TV show that comes from a book misses some things. Other things that they could have done better, yes, there is. But honestly, I loved the TV show. So in the fall, I am going to watch the TV show, read Mortal Instruments at the same time, and kind of note the differences, just to see exactly how different is it from when I watched the TV show first, and then I read the books, just so that way I had it kind of like, I could see what they were talking about in my mind. Some of the things are a little different or not used to. And so I remember the first 2 seasons matching really well with the first 2 books. And then the third season, because it's the last season, they pretty much had to like cram like the last like bit of the book series into that one season. So we miss a lot of things, but it's okay. I think they still ended it really well. I'm not a huge fan of the ending of the show, which if you've seen it, you know why. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. I like the ending of the books much, much better. Okay, so enough about Mortal Instruments. It's very good. Absolutely love it. Fell in love with Clary. Izzy's my favorite. I have an Izzy cosplay. Maybe I'll pull that out one of these days. So, all right. So, next up is the Infernal Devices. This is the prequel series to the Mortal Instruments. The name is a tad confusing at first, especially after you read the Mortal Instruments, because there's something called the Infernal Devices in there. Not related. That I'm not a huge fan of. So this takes place in 1878, not 19, nope, 1878. So these follow Tessa Gray, Will Herondale, and Jem Carstairs, I think is how you pronounce it. Tessa Gray is my absolute favorite character. I love her. Cassandra Clare, the author of all of these, writes in like the little introduction in the first book about how she wanted to write a character, a female main character who loved books, was pretty much like a complete badass. And she did. She did. Oh gosh, I love them. The little love triangle that we have going on between the three of them. This is my favorite series, like my favorite trilogy within the Shadowhunter world. And as much as I love it, I still don't suggest to read it first. You can read this in timeline order. You can absolutely read this in timeline order, in which you would start with these. But honestly, bouncing back and forth can be really fun because there's like little things left, like if you're reading it in publication order, because of the things that are sprinkled in throughout. I don't want to give anything away. But you can absolutely read these first. It's not like she sets up the world in each of these so you can read them standalone, but also connected with everything. So you can definitely start with the Infernal Devices if you want to read in timeline order. So the next series that I read, which isn't exactly in timeline order, but is in publication order, is the Dark Artifices. These are intimidating because they're so big. They're so big. But it's really good. I honestly flew through these, which was really surprising to me because I didn't think that I would because they're so big, but like I flew through them. The series wasn't my favorite. It took me a little bit to get into it. There also seemed to be a lot going on, but by the third book, I was in love with it because I really wanted to know what the heck was going on. So this series is a sequel. That's the word I'm looking for. Is a sequel to the Mortal Instruments. So it starts 5 years after the Mortal Instruments ends. And we get introduced to the characters that this is about at the very end of the Mortal Instruments, if that makes sense. So Cassandra Clare does a really good job of setting everything up. Honestly, I would love to see her office. There's got to be like sticky notes and like a freaking timeline with like strings drawn. Like, it baffles me about how good that this is all laid out. And all of like just like the little connections. So, and then there's also going to be something called The Wicked Powers, which is coming out at some point in time. She hasn't started writing them yet. She just finished doing research for it. It is going to be the sequel to The Dark Artifices, so another sequel to the Mortal Instruments. And I believe she said that that's the last in the Shadowhunter world. I don't know. But anyway, getting ahead of myself. So this follows Emma Carstairs, similar last name to someone else we know, and Julian Blackthorne. They are so precious. And we also see Clary, and we see Jace, and we see Izzy, and we see Alec and Magnus. We also see Magnus in the Mortal Instruments, which was really entertaining to like see all of that come into play. Which is why to kind of like go back on this of reading the Infernal Devices after the Mortal Instruments, some of the things that they talk about in Infernal Devices, you're like, oh my gosh, that's it. So that's why I think you should read Mortal Instruments first. But yes, even though that these are intimidating, you should still give it a shot. So the next series that she wrote, I haven't actually read yet. I just got the most recent one. It also just got released a few months ago, which is why this is still in hardcover. You can see I don't like hardcover books, even though most of these are hardcover. So this, I'm not gonna be able to hold these. All right, let's try this again. So this, I don't actually remember what. The Last Hours, that's what this one is called. That's what the series is called. So The Last Hours is a sequel to the Infernal Devices. So it is about the children of the characters in Infernal Devices. So without giving too much away, I will leave it at that. I'm excited to get into this just because I loved the Infernal Devices, so I'm excited to see what this is. Also, I've heard many, many good things about this series. Everybody seems to have absolutely loved it and has taken to those characters. So I'm excited to get into it. So, along with writing multiple trilogies in the Shadowhunter world, Cassandra Clare has also written like companion books. So here, these are 3 that I've read. So we have the Bane Chronicles, the Shadowhunter Academy, and then the Ghost of the Shadow Market. Woman just doesn't stop writing. So my favorite one out of these is probably Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. All of these. So there's different stories. Each chapter is like a different story in the Shadowhunter world. So the Bane Chronicles follows Magnus Bane throughout his history. And I'm talking like early 1800s all the way to post the Mortal Instruments. And so sometimes they mention things in the books, but we don't exactly, or like it's referencing a story that we've never heard. And so she went back and wrote those stories. So I did really like the Bane Chronicles to find out more about I love Magnus. Yes. And then Ghost of the Shadow Market follows Jem throughout his life without giving too much away. So we find out more about Jem, things that he's doing that also connects a lot with the Dark Artifices. So I would probably wait to read The Ghost of the Shadow Market until after Dark Artifices. Just because you don't want to give, you don't want to spoil anything. And to me, I think that if you did read Ghost of the Shadow Market first, you would probably spoil it for yourself. And so similar thing with Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. This one ties so much from the Infernal Devices, from the Mortal Instruments, Dark Artifices. It ties together an unbelievable amount of things, and this is so incredible. But if you read it before, it's going to spoil things. So I read this one, I think, before I finished the Dark Artifices, and I was like, what are they even talking about? And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. So I think these companion books are meant to be read in between series. I think that they should be read after. If you want to spoil it for yourself, that's totally fine too. Go ahead. Go for it. Awesome. Love that for you. It was just the way that I wanted to read it. But yes. And then there's one more companion book. I guess it's a companion book, but it's on Tumblr. I think Cassandra Clare is working on getting it to be an actual physical book, but it is like a direct sequel to Dark Artifices. like immediately after it finishes. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I think I read the whole thing. It came out like every Tuesday for a while. So there's 3 more books. We're almost done, I promise. These 3 I haven't read yet. So this is another companion book, the Shadowhunter Codex. You will hear a lot about in every single series. This is one where in here, but it got like, there's like little like notes in it from the characters. So like the characters like jotted down like their like little thoughts. So like there's like things like this, like handwritten notes, and it looks like it's going to be really entertaining. And then there's also this like mini series. I don't know much about it. So it's called Eldest Curses. So this follows Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood at different points throughout their timeline, which is why it's a little confusing, because I think like this one takes place during Mortal Instruments, and I think this one takes place after Mortal Instruments. It's under I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. It's one of the ones that I still have yet to read. I'm hoping to read all of them this fall. Like I said, I'm gonna try timeline order this fall, and see how that goes. And I'm going to try tandem reading with the companion books to see if that all makes sense. And so I will make more videos then when I do it. But I wanted to do a little overview of like, how do you read the books? What do you need to do? So like I said, you can read any of these, any like the trilogies or like series within the world. You can read any of those standalone. But for me, once I got started, it just kept going. Hope that helps narrow it down a little bit. There is a section on my blog where the reading order is there with like in publication order, and then also in timeline order. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. I hope you enjoy, and hope maybe you might dive into the Shadowhunter world with me. All right, bye everybody.